my name is Luna. If you're new to the channel, this is my space where I really just talk about things that are of interest to me at any given time. Mostly my content is centered around addiction and addiction recovery, mental health, and spirituality. This is kind of a follow-up to my first video, which was called When Meth Psychosis Never Ends. And I had a lot of comments in response to that video. I'm going to touch on, just like an update from that first, and then we'll get into the rest of the video. The topic for this video is how my addiction ended up being my superpower. And I'll explain more what I mean on that in just a moment. First and foremost, I just wanted to say thank you to all the kind comments, all the kind remarks, everybody asking me for updates. I dealt with some really intense psychosis when I was strung out on meth, and even after I had been clean from it for quite a while, I was still dealing with psychosis. Now, currently, I am completely over that. I have a little bit of depression that I deal with and a little bit of anxiety that remains. But as far as hallucinations go, I am completely healed of that. With that being said, it may sound odd that I'm going to say that my addiction became my superpower. I feel like that there is a lot of stigma surrounding addiction and recovery and people who are in recovery. For a long time, I felt immense shame about the fact that I had been an addict. And even still, sometimes now, if I bring it up to somebody that I've never brought it up to before, there is just this lurking dark feeling like me basically hoping and praying that they don't judge me. Because people do tend to judge you if you tell them that you were a drug addict before. And I completely understand that. I 100% own the fact that I was an addict, and that what I did when I was in addiction and the fact that I let myself get to that point, that was not a good place for me to be. And I will never try to excuse it or say anything like that. But I am thankful that that experience humbled me. Just a few years ago, I was basically in the worst state that I've ever been in my entire life. I had been traumatized in 2014. I had somebody that I cared about basically try to murder me. He didn't basically try, he did try to murder me. And it left me pretty traumatized. After that, I got strung out on heroin. I got clean from that. I got strung out on meth. I stayed strung out on meth for about a year. I got clean. When I got clean, though, I still wasn't doing the self-work that I needed to do to actually heal the thing in me that was making me cling to addiction. So I went back. And when I went back, it was way worse than it had ever been before. Like, I actually was losing my sanity. I was hearing voices. I was seeing things that weren't there. I was having delusions, and it was terrifying. And I just felt like I couldn't break free. But I did actually, I guess it terrified me so badly, and it made me so afraid of the dark place that I had put myself in, that I was living like in a horror movie, a real modern life, a real life horror movie. And it was the most horrific thing that you could ever imagine. I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. And after I went through that for a little while, it was either I was going to get clean or I was going to forever stay in this dark pit, which was constant psychosis. I was seeing things and hearing things, like I said. And it was just scary. And honestly, it felt so real that there's a huge part of me that believes that there really were, I guess, like bad spirits that were clinging to me, So through all of that, I don't know, I found faith in a higher power because I just felt pushed to get clean and to get myself in a better position. And when I got clean, it actually stuck. Or it has, for over 2 years now. This time, I feel like that what I did differently was that I did a lot of self-work. And that self-work really has changed me and made me a better person. And there again, it's going to sound odd when I say that my addiction became my superpower, but let me explain. Before I got hooked on drugs and before I had to get sober and kind of sit with myself and face the fact that there were parts of me that were toxic. I don't feel like I won't say that I wouldn't have ever gotten to that point without getting on drugs and getting clean, but I really feel like that it would have took me a long time to face off with myself, because I felt like that I was just, I don't know, I guess I was oblivious to the fact that I could be toxic, that there were parts of myself that weren't necessarily the greatest, that the way that I was treating people wasn't the greatest, the way that I was treating myself wasn't the greatest. Before, I just would use my mental illness as an excuse to do really, really toxic things. You know, like I cheated on my first husband, and I would excuse it because he cheated on me, and also because I had a mental illness, you know, and that's not the right way to go. And we did eventually get a divorce, but I just continued to go down these spirals and doing like these very impulsive and self-sabotaging type behaviors. And even though I functioned, you know, and kept a job and was able to keep my house clean and cook every day and take care of my pets and do all these things, deep down inside, there was this dark hole in me that I needed to deal with and that I needed to fill with good things. And when I got clean from drugs, I had to really sit down with myself and look at the darkest parts of myself, and first and foremost, to accept that there were these parts of myself that existed, and then to figure out how I could work on those things and grow and heal and finally move forward and do better things. Since I've gotten clean, you know, I've really worked on my trauma, I've worked on my anxiety, I've worked on my depression. I focused a lot on my career and on trying to help other people. My life is in a completely different place than it was in my first video. In my first video, you know, like, my mental health was still suffering really badly, and I was still dealing with hallucinations and things like that. And it took a lot for me to put myself out there and to make a video about that. And there again, I really appreciate all of the kind responses, but there were some of you who said that I was possessed by demons, and that told me I needed Jesus and things like that, and made some really hateful comments about my Ouija board. You know, I respect everyone's opinions, and none of those comments are going to get me down, because at the end of the day, I am proud as hell of myself. I have went through hell, literally went to the gates of hell and turned back around and climbed up and found myself again, you know, and I don't care who you are, I'm proud as hell of myself for that. But with that being said, I feel like that my addiction is what helped me to grow and to become a better person and put me on a better path. Like, I can connect with people way better than I could before I was on drugs. I have a bigger heart. I feel like that I'm more connected to my soul and to my spirit. I'm more empathetic. I have been humbled immensely. And all of that happened because I had to basically die and be reborn as a different person. And, you know, it really sucks when you go through a dark experience like an addiction or a trauma. It can feel like that you're never going to be able to get over it, or that you're never going to be able to move forward and to get past it. But I'm here to tell you that there is light on the other side. Not only is there light on the other side, but when you go through a dark night of the soul and you have to face off with your own demons, it's very hard and it's very difficult, but it can also be extremely rewarding when you make it through it, when you overcome it, and when you do it in a way that you come out better on the other side. And I'm telling you, when you have to completely destroy yourself, or when you do completely destroy yourself, or you go through something that destroys you, basically you get to recreate yourself any way that you want, and it just enlightens you to the fact that mistakes are not the end. That just because you've made a mistake doesn't mean that you've failed. Actually, it could be argued that mistakes are learning curves, and I feel like that I've been through quite a few learning curves, and through everything that I've ever done, whether I did it or it was inflicted on me by somebody else, every single one of those experiences taught me something valuable that nobody can take away from me. And for that, I'm proud. I'm really proud of myself. I hope that I haven't gotten too far off track. Basically, I said all of that to say that I hate how many people I hurt through my addiction. But addiction destroyed the old me, and it allowed me to rebuild myself the right way. I was so damaged as a human being. I had been so traumatized from the time that I was a small child, and then when that guy did that to me, I had no idea how selfish, how childish, how arrogant, and how in denial I was of all of the most toxic parts of myself. And I was that way before I ever touched drugs, but drugs really made me come face to face with my demons, because when you're on drugs don't make you do anything that you wouldn't otherwise do. It just completely removes all of your inhibitions. So the most toxic side of you comes out. And you can disagree with me on that if you want to. That's just my opinion. If I'm really being honest, years before I ever touched drugs, I had an alcohol problem, and that's really where a lot of my issues began. I never saw a problem with my alcohol use because it was pretty normalized in our family to drink at every family event. I had been around binge drinkers my entire life. As long as I went to work every day and I only drank, on the weekends or whatever, it just didn't seem like a big deal to me. But looking back, that was an addiction in and of itself. Since I've gotten sober, I have found my strength again. I was told all of my life that if you ever got addicted to heroin or meth, there was absolutely no coming back from it. That was it. But now I know that that isn't true. It's actually very common for people to overcome drug addiction. Most people who really give it a solid shot, they might have to try a few times. There might be a few relapses, but I know a lot of people from my old, drug world and my old drug life that have overcome it and are now in like the greatest careers they ever had. Now they have families. Now they have kids. Like, I'm here to tell you that no matter what you do, you can come back from it. A lot of people say that it's hard to be sober, that waking up every day it is hard to be sober, but it's way harder to stick a needle in your arm every day and to destroy yourself, like to just do a drug so that you can feel close to normal. That's hard. What's hard is doing drugs all day long, every day, and never getting high, but just surviving. Like, that's hard. What's hard is trying to scrape together pennies so that you can get a little bit of food after you've gotten strung out again. Like, that's hard. Sobriety, like, this is hard sometimes, but it's life on life's terms, and I'm glad to be here. Being sober has opened my eyes to how easy it is to start over, to rebuild myself. It's opened my eyes to all that life has to offer, and it's shown me that I can be whatever I want and that I can recreate myself at any given time. It showed me my power, and I am a powerful person. We all are powerful people, but when you're on drugs or when you're in a low frequency state in your life, if you've been traumatized, if you have unhealed wounds, then you're not going to be your best self. But when you overcome those things and you heal from them, there is light on the other side. So yes, I'm not happy that I hurt people, especially the people that I love, or that I hurt anybody, which I've never like physically hurt anybody, but I did some pretty crappy things when I was addicted. I would never take back the lessons that I learned, though. and not only just about myself, but about my strength, about my weaknesses. I wouldn't take back that aspect of my journey. If you're still an addict and you're out there suffering, I want you to know that you can overcome your addiction. Not only can you overcome your addiction, you can overcome it, and you can overcome it and be on top again. You can be on top higher than you've ever been on top. Like, you can really beat this thing and live a great life. Like, I never would have imagined that I would be where I'm at in life. I have my own house now. I have a career. I have close connections. I have friends, and I did not have friends when I was on drugs, or I didn't have real ones. You can rebuild yourself, and you can be whoever you want to be. Don't listen to anybody who tells you otherwise. If you really put a genuine effort into something that is realistic for your strengths and your weaknesses, and you give it your best shot, you can achieve it. Not despite your addiction, but because of it. Because I'm here to tell you that your addiction can actually be your superpower. Because there really is something to be said of completely being destroyed and a part of you having a soul death and then being reborn into someone who's way better than you ever were before. Anyway, I know that was kind of like a tangent, but I truly appreciate anybody who took the time to listen to this. And if you're still struggling, know that I'm here for you. Please feel free to comment or message me, or whatever the case may be. I'd be happy to talk to you about, addiction recovery resources, or just some more of my experiences. Anyway, peace out, Girl Scout. I hope everyone has a good day. If you've enjoyed this video, please feel free to like, subscribe, leave a comment, whether it's good or bad. I'm open to all kinds of opinions. Have a good day. God bless. Peace.